You're listening to Making the Entrepreneur Podcast, episode 14.
When you have a macro goal, which most entrepreneurs do, I always stay focused by creating micro steps.
Welcome to Making the Entrepreneur Podcast, the show where you'll learn actionable strategies for online marketing, social media, networking, and improving your mindset, all to help you build a successful soul-based business. And now your host, Jess Couture.
This episode is sponsored by Audible, and as you all know, I love listening to audiobooks. Now, because you're a listener of Making the Entrepreneur Podcast, Audible is offering you a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial. If you need ideas for that free download, definitely check out Gary Vaynerchuk's new book, Ask Gary V. I just finished it and it absolutely blew my mind. It's incredible and I highly recommend it. Or check out our upcoming guest, Lisa Nichols' book, Abundance Now. Both of these books are read by the authors, which I love, and you can download one of those today completely free. To get your free audiobook download and trial, go to audibletrial.com/yesjess. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Making the Entrepreneur. Now, I can't tell you guys how crazy this past week and a half has been. Just to give you a really quick background, I posted a video tagging Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income to be a guest on his show. Now, I knew it was a long shot. He gets around 400 emails a day, but I just had this crazy idea to create this video and just try to do something different. First, thank you to every single one of you guys that shared that video. In a day and a half, it reached over 11,000 views, and Pat Flynn responded in 6 hours, still letting it sink in, but I just wanted to thank you guys for helping me make that happen. If you haven't seen the video yet, you can hop over to my Facebook page, that's facebook.com/Jess Couture, or you can go to bit.ly/hi Pat Flynn, but I'll add the link in the show notes. Now, this week's episode is so exciting because I'm speaking with, in my eyes, one of the most inspirational women and entrepreneurs. Most of you have probably seen me share one of her videos at one point or another. Her message and the way that she delivers it is just so powerful. This, of course, is the lovely Lisa Nichols. You may recognize her from the movie The Secret. She was also on Oprah, Larry King Live, The Steve Harvey Show, and she's also a New York Times bestselling author and recently released her new book, Abundance Now. In this episode, we discuss a few different things, from how to avoid overwhelm when you have those really big goals, how you can better understand your own abundance blueprint, and we even dive into the connection it has within other areas of your life. And she also shares some really great points on why you should focus on harmony over balance, meaning your work, family, friends. But she also shares how you can create even stronger relationships within them. So many great things in this episode. I hope you enjoy it too. So without further ado, let's hop over and speak with Lisa Nichols. Lisa, it's so great having you on the show. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
Now, Lisa, you have such an incredible story. Not only have you overcome some extremely difficult times, but you have literally inspired millions of people to do the same, including myself. Now, for our listeners that are being introduced to you for the first time, can you tell us a bit about your journey and how it is that you got to where you are today?
Wow. Well, my journey is, I think that it's the standard, individual, I'm going to make something of myself story. We don't all start on the top. I definitely did not. And, I was a talented young woman in high school and in, my short stint in college, but I just couldn't quite find what my gift was and what my contribution to the planet was. And, before it got easy, and I say that with quotes, my fingers in quotes, before it got easy, it definitely got very difficult. In 1994, I had my son, and I had to get on government's assistance, what they call welfare in the U.S., to have my son. I was broke and broken. I had a great heart. I love people. I just didn't know what my talents were clearly, what my purpose was. I didn't know what my life contribution could be. I just knew that I wanted to be something, and I found myself, having no money and really struggling in my self-esteem. When I had my son, I didn't have money to feed him. I made $800 a month, 800 US dollars a month,
Wow.
and that was really hard. It was hard to take care of me and my son. At one point, I went to the ATM to get $20 out to buy him Pampers, and I didn't have $20 in the bank. I had $11.42. I think when I told that story on the Steve Harvey show, it's the story that's gone viral with over 22 million views because so many
Yes.
people have been at that place where they just didn't have the means they needed. And at that time, I had to wrap my son in a towel for 2 days. And on the second day, I looked down at my 8-month-old son, Jelani, and I put my hand on his stomach and I said, "Don't worry, Jelani. Mommy will never be this broke again or this broken again." And I spent the last 21 years holding true to that commitment to he and I. And over the last 20 years, I was able to transform my life into something barely recognizable. In 1994, 5, and 6, I started reading self-help, self-development. I started searching for how can I change my mindset, thus change my life, thus change my reality. And I fed myself a new conversation via these books. And I began to do new things that the books told me to do, and I began to get new results that the books told me I'd get.
Mm.
And I just got hungrier and hungrier and hungrier for this opportunity to create something I'd never seen before. And so I look up 21 years later, my son, my beautiful son, is now 6'2", 6'3", a graduate of Lake Cordon Bleu Culinary Institute, and he has a life that's completely unrecognizable from when he was born because I was willing to reinvent myself 1,000 times, give myself 1,000 second chances, get up 1,000 times when I've been knocked down. It wasn't easy, and it still isn't easy, but it's worth it. And so I believe that I represent. I don't know if you've ever seen the cartoon, if it's where you live, but in the States there's this cartoon called the little engine that could.
Hmm.
And the little engine that could was this little rinky dink engine against a train engine against all these big trains, and it had to get up this really big hill. And all the way up the hill, the little engine and little scrawny engine is saying, "I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can." And then it shifts to, "I know I can, I know I can, I know I can, I know I can." And then it shifts to, "I did it, I did it, I did it." And I just believe that my life represents that little engine that believed in something that I couldn't see. And people resonate with that.
Now, obviously, you're doing all of this before to The Secret, and it was
Yes.
incredible. I mean, it shifted my life when I was around 14 years old. But as you were transitioning throughout your life, and you seem to have been very deliberate with your thoughts, having a
Yes.
strong mindset. But when it comes to big goals, and I mean the ones that, as you say, with your knees knocking and your teeth chattering, what things do you do to help you reach them without feeling overwhelmed? And I ask that because I know a lot of entrepreneurs can have these really big goals, including myself, but I think it's easy that you can get lost along the way or sidetracked when you're trying to get to something that just seems so unattainable at the time.
Yeah, both of those are possible, overwhelmed and sidetracked, especially when you're a creator. I'm a creator, I'm a visionary, I'm an artist. So my middle name is ADD. I get distracted from my bedroom to the kitchen and then forget what I came to get in the kitchen by the time I get there. So, absolutely. One of the things that I am a big advocate of is when you have a macro goal, which most entrepreneurs do, and just people who want to do something big in life, you have a macro goal. I always stay focused by creating micro steps and micro milestones. And so when you have a macro goal, I chunk it down into, I was just on a coaching call last night and I said, with my annual goals, right under my annual goals are monthly goals. Right under my monthly goals are weekly goals. Right under my weekly goals are daily tasks. I know what are the 3 things that I need to be doing today to help get me to my goal. And I only give myself 3. I don't give myself 13. I don't give myself 30. I give myself three things that will push my macro goal forward by creating micro action steps and micro wins. And then I have weekly goals. Where should I be? If I want to have a $200,000 month, then I probably need a $50,000 week. If I have a $50,000 week, then I probably need five $10,000 days. I literally do the math down like that. And if I know, okay, I can't do a $10,000 day on Monday, it's just not that kind of day, then I realistically say, then I need Wednesday and Thursday to be 15,000 each. And you can do the numbers down
Mm.
from 20 to a $200,000 month to a $20,000 month to a $2,000 month. The formula is still the same. The zeros just change. So I hit my macro goals by having micro steps. I'm real big at how do we get there. Most people set big goals, but they don't itemize how to get there detailed enough. They just may have one or two things, and they need, like, every macro goal really requires about 10 to 15 micro steps. And it's in the steps that we get lost because we don't set them out very clearly.
That makes perfect sense. To actually know, like, have you reached your goal for that time? And it's a lot more attainable. And it's also to see if you're off track. If you're
Absolutely. You see if you're on track, if you're ahead of goal, if you're behind goal, and it gives you time to reassess the goal. If you go, yeah, I want to touch 20,000 people this month, and you're into week 2 and you've touched 2, then set yourself up for success. Change that from 20 to 10, because every time you don't hit a goal that you set, a little bit of your belief in yourself dies away. So you want to set up realistic goals that you can hit. You're not being a slacker because you can hit it. When someone tells me, hey, Lisa, I can get that to you by Wednesday, 2 p.m., I say, okay, great. So I'm going to look for it by Wednesday at 6 p.m. so that it gives you breathing space, so that you can live the life you love with grace and ease, create the life you want with peace of mind. So many times as an entrepreneur, we forfeit peace of mind for the dream. Well, if you forfeit peace of mind for the dream, you just turn the dream into a nightmare. And I'm all for loving every part of my life, loving every nuance. I'm all for being happy in the dark of the night when no one's looking, as I am on the red carpet, on the step and repeat in front of the cameras. I want to be as happy when I'm thinking about my life as I am when I'm living my life, as I am when I'm reflecting on my life. And that comes from giving myself realistic, doable, reality-based goals and micro steps to make them happen.
Now, a quick question for you, because you had actually brought up something really interesting about income blocks. So when you're setting, I'm assuming during this time, you were setting your macro goals. And it seemed that once you would get close to hitting that 7-figure mark in your business, you would stop, or you would perhaps take some time off on vacation. Now, I know on the outside, for some people that might seem crazy, but we do all have that invisible limit somewhere, whether that's financially or for growing our business. Can you share to us how you discovered what it was and what it was holding you back?
Absolutely. I can see that you've done your studies on me, huh? Well, what I would do is, one year I hit 775,000 or something like that by October, and I decided I wanted to take the rest of the year off. And I knew I could because I had an impressive year, and everyone that I would tell that to, they go, "Yeah, sure, take it off." Well, the next year I was at like 985,000 by August, and I had the urge to take the rest of the year off. Well, that's 6 months. I began to really study what was up for me, and what I found was that I wasn't comfortable making over $1 million in one year, because that meant something. That meant I was different from my community. I was different from my family. I already knew I was different before, but I just didn't want another difference. That I had a block around how authentic would I be? How service oriented would I be? How much of a good woman would I be if I was making over $1 million a year? Like, I realized I had a judgment about millionaires as well. And so my block came from me not knowing if I would still be accepted. My block came from me not knowing if I was worthy of that for a year, based on a talent, a gift, a God's given gift I had. Oh my God. And then it also was those people over there that make that much money. Who are they? And so I had to address what I call, in my book Abundance Now, I call my financial blueprint. I had to address my financial blueprint and what that meant, and what could it be and how is it. And so it was really looking at my relationship to money and how culturally I've been taught that we can take a dime and stretch it in many different directions. And I never learned take many dimes and have enough. Matter of fact, have abundantly more than you need. That I had to revisit my financial blueprint, my money mindset, and I had to reprogram myself to understand that I was worthy of wealth, that wealth doesn't change me, that good people should do financially well, because when good people do financially well, they simply do more good in the world. And that I'm a good person and I have the right to do well because I'm going to do more good with my money, and that my family and my friends and my circle, they look for me to be Lisa. So I had to really dissect and open up and give myself permission on an emotional level to push past where I normally would stop, and to give myself something I'd never seen before, and to allow myself to evolve and morph. I was trying to be successful being the same woman I've always been. And the reality is that you have to become someone new. You have to become the next best version of yourself. You have to step into, what does your 2017 look like? What does your 2020 version of you look like? You can't be and produce something new being the 2015, the 2012 version of yourself. You can't do that. And I had to embrace that and to know that and to trust that that next level of Lisa was the best level of Lisa.
When you were uncovering your money blueprint and you were discovering the things that perhaps you associated with being a millionaire, I'm assuming that there was a bit of fear probably with that, with the unknown. What was it that you did, or was there anything that you did in particular that can help you with that fear or that doubt of going into that new territory?
So the number one thing I did, the first thing I did was I really started to affirm Lisa and heal Lisa. Because when you heal and affirm yourself, celebrate and affirm yourself and heal yourself, all of a sudden you're afraid of less because you're not pulling on old memories. You're not pulling on old war wounds. So I got in the mirror, and you've probably heard me say this again via my book or via training, but I got in the mirror and I did a mirror exercise every day. The first sentence that I said was, Lisa, I'm proud that you. So I got in the habit of celebrating myself for who I am now and what I'm doing now, and what I've achieved in the now. So I had 7 different endings. Lisa, I'm proud of you for. Lisa, I'm proud of you for. Lisa, I'm proud of you for. 7 different endings. And the second sentence was, Lisa, I forgive you for. I began to cut the shackles to blame, shame, guilt, and regret. I just cut the shackles to blame, shame, guilt, and regret. So, Lisa, I forgive you for. And I went down the list of all the things that I was willing to forgive myself for. Old things. Just, I went back 15 years, went back 20 years. And then the third sentence is, Lisa, I commit to you that. I commit to you. So I was willing, before I made a commitment to anyone else, I was willing to make a commitment to myself. I commit to you that today you'll only say yes when it feels good to say yes. And when you need to say no, you'll say no. I commit to you. So I made every day, I celebrated myself for 7 different things. I forgave myself for 7 different things. And I made 7 different commitments to Lisa. And each day I could repeat what I said the day before. Like I can repeat tomorrow what I said today. But every day I said 7 different things. And what that did was that begin to build my confidence in myself, begin to build my pride, and not in an ego-based way, but just in a I'm proud of who I've been way, which caused me to trust myself more. And when you trust yourself more, you have fewer fears. And so I didn't go about it by addressing fear, because where energy goes, energy grows. So if I'm talking about things I'm afraid of, fearful of, I'm simply growing fear because I'm giving fear the energy. Instead of growing fear or giving fear the energy, I went to the other side to say, what do I forgive myself for? So when I would say, what do I forgive myself for? I forgave myself for old choices that landed me in uncomfortable, difficult, painful experiences. Well, what that did was that reduced the fear of making new choices. And so I addressed it completely from the opposite direction of growing what felt good. So growing what I'm proud of and being able to publicly acknowledge myself and forgiving myself and committing to myself. By doing that, I reduce the fear.
Forgiveness is such an important thing
Oh
because
my God,
it,
yes.
it seems to come up. I think you can think about what you do want, you can think positively. But once I started doing the forgiveness, it was just, I'm like you and I get emotional, and it's like a weight off your shoulder that you didn't realize was there. Now, when it comes to abundance, I think we do tend to focus on the financial side of it. But have you noticed that there's a link between the mindset that we have around financial abundance and perhaps a connection that it has in other areas of our life, like health or even relationships? And if so, how do we balance that?
Absolutely. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So, so if you are out of integrity with your bills, you probably don't call people back as swiftly as you can as well. If you are not honoring your body, you're probably not honoring the condition of your house. It's just how you do one thing is how you do all things. There are patterns showing up everywhere. If you live in overwhelm and everything is coming at you all at one time, your car probably reflects that. So, I mean, you can, and I've been there. I'm not speaking from a place of judgment at all. I have seen every cycle of this to the cycle of order. I've lived in chaos. I've lived in overwhelm. I've lived in, false expectations on myself, saying yes way too much, and not knowing and absolutely not knowing how to exercise my no. Um, to having order and clarity and comfortable in my no, and owning the fact that I have a right to carve out and require time for me, Lisa time. So yeah, when you are, prosperity and abundance does get linked to a financial experience, and yet abundance is a holistic 360 experience. That I have a friend who's worth $14 billion, and he doesn't have a financial worry in the world, but his health is ailing, and he's always in and out of some medical facility. And he spent all of his youthful years working to acquire money, and now he's spending all of his current years spending his money to acquire good health.
Wow.
And so, holistically, and he and I became friends 2 years ago, and he's adopted me, and he's clingy, and he wants to talk all the time. And the reason being, and he says this, that he didn't nurture his relationship with his children and his family. So now they don't care to have a relationship with him, and now he wants a relationship. So here's a man worth $14 billion who's spending all of his money and time trying to get his health back, and who's clamoring to this new friendship to be everything to him that he needs because he doesn't have a relationship with the people that he loves. And so if that's not a physical example of, abundance is a holistic conversation that crosses your spirituality with your health and wellness, with the quality of your relationships, along with your finances. Finances are just 25% of the quality of your life when it comes to abundant living. Just 25%. Though it screams really loudly, get sick, lose a limb, get cancer. That will scream louder than money will ever. All you'll want is your health back again. Have the people you love, out of connection with you. All you want. The ache that you have in your belly for not having a bank account balance that you want is very different than the ache in your belly for not having a relationship with your loved ones. I spend a lot of time teaching my students how to have balance. I actually teach balance is what we're taught, but balance is a myth, harmony is a must. You'll never have the exact same equivalent energy to give to every area of your life. You won't give the same energy to your spiritual growth that you're going to give to your financial growth. That's just a truth. And not everyone. Someone's going to give more energy to their spiritual growth and none to their financial growth, right? And so it's never equal. And so that's why you want to build a life of harmony, not of balance, just harmony. So my son and I'm on the road over 320 days. When I look at the relationship, and when other people witness the relationship between my son and I and other parents and their children, they're blown away. And I'm always asked the question, how could you be so close with Jelani when for the last 12 years you've been on the road so much? And I said, because I focused on harmony, not balance. I knew I couldn't be home as much as the standard parent is at home, but I made my time at home extremely powerful and beneficial and connecting. I made those 2 days everything.
And I love that. I mean, even before we were speaking, just hearing you guys when you were making your dinner, like he's giving you cooking tips, and I think that's brilliant. And I think that's going to be a bit of relief for people that are listening, because we tend to focus on creating the balance and making everything equal. So to actually change the way that you see it, and it's not balance, it's actually harmony. I think that's going to help a lot of people, to be honest.
Yeah. And what my prayer is that the biggest hope that I have for people is that it takes away the guilt that I didn't spend enough time. Don't worry about spending enough time. Make the time you have so powerful, so beautiful, so brilliant. Put down your phone, turn your phone off. My son and I would play Monopoly, and we played Monopoly for years and years and years, Jess. I mean, every form of Monopoly that exists, we have played. He just got in the mail from one of my clients. He just got a chef Monopoly because everyone knows that we play Monopoly. So it really is about making it having harmony. I don't spend a lot of time with my family, but this weekend, just this past Sunday, I had family members over. I didn't have time to cook because I landed the night before at 11 o'clock at night. I landed back in California, and they were due at my house at 2 o'clock the next day. So I got this beautiful Latin buffet, ordered it out, had the kids come over, pulled out the bathing suits for everyone, turned the pool on. It's 87 degrees in the pool. And we spent the day together. And we ended up at night with blankets wrapped around us, roasting s'mores in the fire pit outside. And when I tell you, an intensive day of fun and connection. But I've been on the road for the last maybe 90 days. I've been on the road, and I'll go back on the road in the next 7 days. But now my family and I have had this great experience. I'm in LA for one day this weekend, and my dad's going to barbecue. I'm going to come by, have barbecue with my dad for a couple of hours, and then keep going to a keynote speech that I have to do. And so it really is about planning. You don't when you're busy, you don't get accidental time to create harmony. You plan the time out, you schedule it, and then you honor your word. Nothing becomes more important. What I love about my relationship with my son is that with all my moving around the world, he always knew that he was priority.
What was it that you would say to your son, especially as things started to get busy, to know where you stood with him and that you knew that you guys were doing a good job, or that you weren't overlooking things that maybe he wasn't communicating?
Well, I would ask my son to rate our relationship on a scale from 1 to 10. I got to tell you, for all of and this is just not for moms, this is for relationships as well. I learned this from my friend Jack Canfield, who would ask his wife repeatedly to rate the relationship. And so this is relationship romantic, this is sibling relationships, parental relationships, child relationships. It's any relationship that matters to you enough where you want to know where you stand. And so I would ask Jelani, on a scale from 1 to 10, how would he rate our relationship? 10 being perfect and wonderful, and 1 being it doesn't exist. It's in dire need of help. And he would rate it. And then the second question is the most important question you can ask. I know it sounds like the first question is, but the second question really is the critical question. Now, first of all, when you ask this first question, you ask them to rate it, you can't have an emotional response. You have to say, thank you for sharing. That's all you say. Thank you for sharing. If they rated a 8, thank you for sharing. If they rated a 2, thank you for sharing. I need this feedback. And so you have to make sure you make it safe for them to share the truth, or else they'll never share the truth again with you when it comes to this. And so I would ask my son, how do you rate this relationship? The very first time he answered, he rated it a 7. I was pretty shocked because I thought I was a pretty cool mom. But it didn't matter what I thought. I couldn't make his experience wrong. He rated it a 7, and that's what it was to him. It was a 9.5 to me, but it was a 7 to him. And the second question is the most critical question, and that was, how do I take it from a 7 to a 10? What do you want to experience with me? What do you desire from me? And that question right there, that's the secret sauce. He told me what he needed and wanted, which was whenever I traveled international, he wanted to come with me because he couldn't call me when we were international, and he didn't like not being able to call me. And I immediately, within 3 months, I had him in a different school that would allow me to distance learn him when necessary. And for the next 2.5 years, I took him with me internationally when I traveled. Because your job, once they tell you how to get it from a 6 to a 10, or a 5 to a 10, or a 2 to a 10, or an 8 to a 10, your job for the next 6 months is to laser on only that. And so I did that. I started that when he was 8 years old. I haven't done it in a while, actually. The last time I did it, he was like 19. I would do it every 6 months. I would do it. And the last time I did it, he and I just had lunch together. He had fixed us lunch, and we were sitting on the couch, opposite ends of the couch, with our feet touching, and we were watching Criminal Minds, our Law and Order marathon. And I asked him I said, Jelani, on a scale from 1 to 10, he goes, Mom, really, you've been doing this every year for 10 years? I said, well, it's how I mind our relationship. And I said, on a scale from 1 to 10, how do you relate this relationship? He said, a 9.5. And I said, what would take it from a 9.5 to a 10? He goes, Mom, it's a 9.5. I goes, yes, son, and thank you for sharing. What would take it from a 9.5 to a 10? He goes, Mom, really? We just had lunch together. I cooked you lunch. We're sitting on the couch. Our feet are touching. We're doing footsies, and we're watching a Law and Order marathon. He goes, Mom, it's really a 10. I just feel a little weird saying it's a 10.
That's brilliant. So. No, and I think that's such a great way of doing it. Now, Lisa, I know you've gone through a huge book launch for Abundance Now, and I need to say for everyone listening, do pick up a copy. And I said this to you already before. I knew it would be good, but I honestly never anticipated how much it would actually move me the way it did. So could you just tell us a bit about what the book is about and how our listeners can connect with you and get the book?
Yes. Well, first, thank you for that acknowledgement. I wrote the book with you in mind. I wrote the book with the individual in mind who was committed to breaking through any limiting beliefs, any behaviors that might stagnate them, to step into the greatest version of themselves. Any individual who saw greatness in their being, in their essence, in their knowing, and they just wanted practical, because I'm a real practical girl. You got to keep it really simple for me. Practical steps to get there. The book is a very clear step-by-step guide for individuals who want to build your leadership muscle, but you have to overcome some things to stand inside your greatness, overcome self-talk, or overcome, habits, or overcome belief systems. But that light at the end of the tunnel is really light. It is not a train. It is not coming at you. It's your light, and you want to not walk, but you want to run to it. Abundance Now is an untraditional look at being amazing and ginormous and being a leader. It's edgy. It has some spice in it, some cayenne pepper in it. I'm very honest. Um, I'm almost disarmingly honest about my life in some places. I tell stories that I didn't think I'd ever share with anybody. Starting in the introduction, starting in the acknowledgments, when I acknowledge my son's father for the very first time publicly by his name. And my son's father has been in prison since my son was 8 months old, and my son's father is still in prison 21 years later. And so I really step out there in a way that I've never stepped out there before, because I want people to know, if I can take myself from welfare to Wall Street, and I use these practices, where can you go? And you can find the book by going to Join Lisa Live and just register there. And then it'll give you all these different outlets you can get the book from, whether it be Amazon or Barnes and Nobles. Know that it's also in brick and mortar stores internationally as well. And the audio version, and now people have started getting the audio version, and my inbox is filled with people saying, why didn't you tell us that the audio version was even better than the printed
so
version?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. I put a lot of bonuses in there because I was talking to you, and when I figured out that they couldn't kick me out of the recording studio, and I figured out that the publisher wouldn't want me to re-record it a second time for cost purposes, I just like went all in. I went all in. And when I got a message from my publisher saying the audiobook is really long. I mean, it's longer than we thought. I said, oh, yeah, I just dropped in a couple of extra nuggets. So you really take a personal journey with me. A lot of people like to have the print and the audio because the print allows you to circle and see the quotes, and but the audio, I read it. It's a personal journey. So it's that book that says, if I left a legacy, Jess, if I left something here that left a blueprint, step by step, my gift back to society, my big gift back to humanity, to say, I don't want to be the only person to have this extraordinary, breathtaking life. If I left one piece of work that would say, here's how you get there, it would be abundance now.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Lisa, and for being here on the show. It's such an honor, and definitely we'll have a link for everything that we've mentioned in the show notes. But Lisa, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in this week. Now, I have something for you. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you left the show a review in iTunes. All you need to do is search Making the Entrepreneur in iTunes, click Reviews, then click Leave a Review. It will help us reach that many more people and continue doing some really exciting things. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys all next week.